Welcome, listeners. Today, I am thrilled to announce and introduce you to someone whose story is going to inspire you and possibly challenge you. Russell Parker, welcome. It's not,
Hey,
yeah, he's not just a business owner. He is a man who has walked through both victories and valleys with God leading the way. And he's also the founder of Fast Track Properties, where he helps people navigate real estate opportunities with excellence. And I think that's super important with integrity as well. But what makes Russell's story so powerful isn't just about his business, but his testimony of how God has actually shown up in his life, shaped his decisions, and continues to guide his path forward. So, today in our conversation, we're going to talk about how Russell moved from trial and error into walking in God's direction in business, the faith moments that completely changed his perspective on life and work, and the challenges that he is overcoming today with the same bold trust in God. So, whether you are an entrepreneur who's maybe in the middle of your own struggle, or you're looking for some encouragement that God is truly present in business, Russell's story is going to speak to you in a big way. So, I would love for you to share a little bit about who you are, your background, and actually what led you into this business.
absolutely. Well, I'm Russell Parker. I grew up here in Missouri and Lincoln County, real rural upbringing. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked his entire adult life at General Motors. So I very much grew up with the whole 9 to 5 kind of mentality. You get a good job with benefits. You get that 401k, you put your 30 years in, you get your watch, you retire, you know what I mean, or 40 years. And that's kind of what I knew. So when I entered the workforce after high school, I very much was aimed at doing that. Didn't want to necessarily work at General Motors, but I had an opportunity to work at the post office. So that's what I did. Started working there. I got married. I had a kid. I was very much doing that same kind of path that my dad did, which was great for me. And things were going good, and then they weren't. So it came to a point where I realized that my marriage was going to end. It wasn't my decision, but it was just what happened. And I realized pretty quickly that the whole life that I thought I was building for myself was kind of not going to look like how I thought it was going to look. This is going to tie in with my faith and my business. It all kind of happened all at once. So I was working 6 days a week, sometimes 10-hour days. Became clear to me that I wasn't going to be able to be the father I wanted to be working that kind of schedule. It was looking like if I stayed there, I was going to be the every other weekend dad. And I'm not knocking that, but it's just, it was going to kill me to do that. I am very close with my daughter. So I honestly just started, I was like, I'm going to have to start over. I'm going to have to figure something else out here because this post office job's just not going to work. What I did was I was on the mail route and just thinking to myself, like, what am I going to do for work? This is going to work. And then I remembered one of my best friends, Eric, he was working in real estate, working for himself. And I knew that that had a flexible schedule. So literally while I'm delivering mail, I call him and I'm like, dude, what do you do? I know you're in real estate, but you're not an agent. I don't really even understand what you do. And he took the time with me throughout my whole route, 4 hours on the phone, just telling me what he does, how he got into it, what it looks like to work in real estate full time. And by the time I clocked out that day, I knew that's what I was going to do.
Wow.
So that was exciting. It's like I have a direction that isn't, where I'm at right now. So what I did was over the last couple years leading up to this, I had squirreled away a little bit of money. I had a little bit of a savings. I decided to quit my job at the post office and dump my savings into the house that I owned and try to resell it. I bought that in 2016 and it was 2021 at this point. So I knew that I could probably do well on it if I did some updates. So that's what I did. Me and my cousin, we put down new floors, countertops repainted, nothing too crazy, but, spruced the place up, and I sold the house and did well on it. And then at that point, I thought, okay, that bought me some time. I got some money in the bank that represents time for me to really figure out what I'm gonna do, and then it just occurred to me, like, "Why don't I just keep doing this to other houses?" So, so my partner with Eric, who I was on the phone with when I was delivering the mail, he kinda took me under his wing, taught me what he knew, and we started Fast Track Properties, little less than a year later in 2022. So that's how the business started.
Mm.
Simultaneously, while all that was going on, like I said, I the life that I thought I had built for myself was completely falling around me. And I realized quickly that I wasn't really in as much control of any of this as I thought I was. I grew up, like, if you would have asked me at 18 or 15 or 21 if I was a Christian, I would have said yes. But if I'm being honest, I don't think I had an active relationship with God or Jesus at all. I wasn't a praying guy. I maybe went to church. I could count on one hand how many times I went to church growing up. So it wasn't a big part of my life at all until I kind of lost everything that I thought I had built for myself. And then it just occurred to me that, I'm not in control of this. And when I am in control, I suck at being in control. And and that was kind of what drove me to just give everything to Jesus, because I realized that I'm really bad at driving the ship. I always believed in God, but now it just occurred to me that I need to give more than I am my relationship with Jesus, and really give him the reins, and I'll paddle, but you steer. So it definitely made me more serious about my faith. I started going to church. I started eventually, I'm also a musician on the weekends. I started playing in the church band. And the more I started doing this stuff, not that it's like the reason you do it is to feel better, but I started noticing I felt better. I was feeling better about my situation. I was feeling better about my future. And then it really was occurring to me that there's something to all of this, and having a real living relationship with a very real living God is something that I don't think I would be where I'm at be where I'm at today without that. So yeah, it informs everything I do in my life, including my business, my personal relationships. I look at everything through that lens of my faith, and that's how I try to conduct myself in everything that I do.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I think a lot of us can identify in there, having my whole career as being a nurse and then transitioning to something completely different. I mean, there are many of us who do that, right? And so, in that moment where you're in this full transition, it took a leap of faith, right? Like, you're leaving behind what's familiar, you're leaving behind that steady paycheck for a complete unknown. What did that feel like in that moment? Like, what were you nervous? Were you like, oh, chewing at your nails? Like, what do I do? Thinking, my gosh, like, what am I thinking? Because there's so many people I think that they're too scared to take that leap of faith.
Absolutely. I think nervous would probably be the understatement of the century. I was terrified. Why? How could you not be terrified? Especially,
Right.
I built this real kind of cushy life for me where everything was kind of just everything was running on autopilot. I was living on autopilot. And now all of a sudden, I every single decision I make could completely everything could fall to the ground.
Yeah.
And so it was really terrifying. And I would have never taken that step. I didn't even take the step. The way I put it is I was kicked off the ledge. I didn't really have another option. I knew that if I stayed there, I wasn't gonna see my kid, and that wasn't acceptable to me. It became, "This has to work or it's all gonna fall apart." It's like those I had to make this work, because growing up, my dad, my dad's awesome. He worked his butt off, but he worked a lot, and he was working night shifts a lot of the times. And I would come home from school, and he would be going to work, and it was hi, bye, see you later. And I just didn't want that for me and my daughter's relationship. And I knew if this doesn't work, I mean, I got to make it work. There isn't even a this it doesn't work. I
There's
have
no
to
point
make it
for
work.
failure, right?
Exactly.
No.
And that's how I dealt with the fear
Yeah.
and the motivation, was because, like, if I'm too scared, I won't move, and if I'm not moving, I'm gonna fail. So it was just put my head down and just don't look at anything other than these goals, and just keep walking towards them, and watch them get closer as you keep walking.
Yeah, and, I mean, what you're saying is so profound too, like, especially feeling better because you're moving out of, like, the status quo and, like, the mind-numbing rituals of life into, "Okay, God, I'm gonna wholeheartedly trust you. I know that you can provide, and I'm gonna watch you do it," you know, versus, like, "I'm gonna keep doing things on my own accord because this is safe." Like, that is a huge step, and he honors us for making those kinds of commitments and trusting him, right? Like there is something just so profound about that kind of faith and obedience. And so like what's one of the things like in your life that you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did this." Like besides your daughter, because I know like your relationship with your daughter was so key. Is there something else that you're like, "I had no idea that this would be the result of me taking that leap of faith?"
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, looking back on that whole chapter, how I ended up where I'm at, it's weird to say because it's the worst time of my life. I took it. I was devastated when that happened. But looking back on it now, it's I would never be where I'm at without that happening. It's like it took the worst thing ever but it was my biggest fear was losing this family, this life, this house, everything that I thought I built for myself. But when I did, I realized like it just brought me so much closer to something that's so much bigger than all that. The way I look at it now, it's like, Jesus really wanted me. He wanted me to lose everything
Yeah.
so I could realize that I don't actually own anything. None of this
Yeah.
stuff is mine.
Yeah.
I'm a steward of what I have, and if I wasn't doing anything to help anybody else out, I've always been a nice guy, but, I wasn't going out of my way to volunteer my time or do anything. I was just working my butt off, keeping every single little bit I could keep, and yeah, so I'm so grateful that that happened to me because I like my life more now. I like who I am more now. I think my relationships are healthier ones. I'm still learning. It's still very much an active thing where, I'm kind of a baby Christian in that I've really only taken this seriously for 3 or 4 years now,
Mhm.
but it's very exciting to learn more about who God is and
Oh,
the things he said and the promises he's made, and the more you pray and the more you read in the word and the more you do all this stuff, you feel that much closer to him. And it just gets me fired up every day to do what I do and really help people out in my business and anywhere else I can find to do that. I'm a people person. I love helping people, and I've really been able to lean into that now that I've had a career change.
yeah, and that I really do feel like that shines so through the people that I know that know you are like, "Oh my gosh, he's such a great guy," you know? And so, like, I love that. That is just and that's gotta feel good,
It
like
does.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, if I come across that way, that means the world to me.
Yeah, yeah. Especially from feeling like in the past, maybe you went through life feeling numb, like it was just so status quo and just so like blah, blah. Okay, let me just go through the motions. And now it's like, no, I have fulfillment and purpose,
Yes,
And
absolutely. And the scary part about it is that, when you're in that kinda hamster wheel, you don't realize that you're numb.
oh,
You're too in it. You're too in the clouds. You can't really make out what's going on until you step out of it and you realize, "Wow, I was pretty miserable."
yeah, yeah. Wow. So tell us about your business today. Like, what does Fast Track Properties do? Who do you serve?
So, we serve anybody that's looking to sell a house, but we come across people in lots of different situations. So, we do have licensed agents on the team, so we can list houses, but I'd say that's a very small percentage of what we do. Generally, we're buying houses as is off market for cash. So when we buy a house, we're either gonna flip it, like and resell it on retail market, put some, hire contractors, do all the work, then resell it. My partner Eric might keep it for a rental, or if neither of those options work for us, we'll help the seller find another investor to buy it. But the people we help is anybody that just wants to sell a house quick and easy. Like maybe they don't want to go through the updating the floors and doing the staging and having a bunch of showings. Some people just want to sell it and easy, just be done with it. Other people are in situations where maybe they're behind on mortgage and they're looking down the barrel of a foreclosure. In that case, we would close as quickly as possible. That way they can pocket, their equity rather than just giving it back to the bank. Other situations where maybe they're behind on taxes and they're looking at a tax sale coming up soon. We get those calls from time to time where they don't have a whole lot of time to make moves.
Hmm.
And that's what we can kind of how we can help them out is we can close in 2 weeks rather than, putting it on market and waiting and seeing what you get. And even when you get a contract on market, you're at least 30 days away from a close. So people that are pressed on time, we're able to help out. We buy houses that won't pass just your general occupancy inspection, and maybe they don't have the desire or the means or the time to make that happen. Honestly, a lot of what we do is we just give people options as far as we can do anything. We can list it. We'll show you what a listing looks like. We'll show you what a cash offer looks like. Basically, what we try to do is we try to be problem solvers for our clients because when they call us and they're entertaining the idea of a cash offer, it usually means there's maybe something going on that they might need help navigating. So our motto is, if you're already going through like a stressful time, we don't want to do anything to add stress to that. We're going to make at least the sale of your house as easy as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I love that you really work this system with integrity. And I think that's so important. Like, you're really helping them figure out what is best for them. And in a possible foreclosure, getting something out of their, equity is better than them walking away completely and then having that foreclosure on their record, making it more difficult for them to get into anything later. So I love that you're coming in and providing that integrity driven focus that's people driven, you know? I mean, because let's face it, not everybody's like that, right?
No, and I found that out really quickly coming into this industry. That's why we really shifted focus to be forward facing that way to the client because I realized that and it is what it is. I mean, everybody has to make a profit. That's why we're all in business. Like if we didn't, we wouldn't be in business. So
Right?
there's that. But I really noticed how cold a lot of this was and how a lot of investors weren't really that concerned with what the client needs. It was more so just do the numbers work. Nope. All right, then I'll just leave you high and dry and you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
We want to at least we want to come at it from a more honest perspective where if I get a call and I go see a house and it's clean and nice and they've already done updates, I will tell them flat out, if you listed this, you would make more money. My offer is going to be lower than what you would be able to get on the open market if you
Yeah.
listed. Like I'll tell people that. I think it comes back to the more you treat people with respect and honesty, you get that back tenfold when somebody calls you that your services are actually a good fit for them, and then referrals too. I get referred a lot because I'm just honest with people. If I'm not the guy that's gonna help you out the most, I think I'll tell you that. And I got, a bunch of agents that are great. I mean, we can do the listing, and if you don't wanna do the listing with us, I know a bunch of great agents I can get you in contact with.
Yeah. Awesome.
I just wanna help people that I wanna feel confident that I am the right guy to help you, and
Yeah.
if I don't, then I wanna at least point you in the right direction, because this is what I do all day, every day. Most people sell a house a couple times in their lifetime.
Right?
So it's not something a lot of people think about.
Yeah.
So it's my job to be able to educate whoever it is I'm talking to about this, let them know what I know, and just give them my professional opinion at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. What are some of the values and or practices that help you keep Christ at the center of your work and your decisions? What would you say is kind of the thing, if there's one thing? Or
For one, I'm not a good liar. So if if I'm lying, people know that I'm lying. So I knew if I was going to be a real estate investor, I couldn't be one of the guys that's real slick and sharky can kind of just make everything sound good. I try to lean into to just being as honest as possible. So honesty is really big with me. I hadn't known you for very long, and I've already shared my story just completely with you twice. I'm an open book. So being honest with people is huge for me. I say more than anything, honesty and treating people with respect as well. A lot of people, like I said, they might be in a situation where it could be easy to take advantage of them, and that's not ever what I wanted to do. I didn't grow up with a lot of money when I was coming up, and a lot of my family didn't have a lot of money, and I'd seen them get taken advantage of, and what kinda guy would I be if I just flipped the coin and was on the other side of that equation? I'm trying to represent people as well as I can and just point them in the right direction at the very least. So honesty and just treating people with respect. I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, those are the 2 things that I try to my head leaves the pillow, I'm doing those 2 things today.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And I love that you brought up, you get what you give too, because that is in the Bible, the law of reaping and sowing, right?
Uh,
And so
yeah, these are my ideas.
no, no. And I love that you're saying that because like it is a indisputable law. Like it's just gonna happen. So whatever it is that you put out there, you will then, sow that. So I love that you're
Absolutely.
you're putting that integrity, the values, the honesty, and, putting people first. Those are some of the things that you're leveraging as a faith-filled person with God's perspective in mind. And so, there's we see a lot of times we see God's hand move in our business or our life, and it sometimes completely shifts our perspective. Now you shared the divorce being one of those things where it, like, completely flipped your whole life on its head, right? And so, like, have you noticed that there's been times where God will completely shut a door or completely open a door for you that maybe was either closed or open already?
For sure, I have to think, what's a good example of that? In business, there's been times where, I really wanted a project, like a rehab project, and it just didn't happen for one reason or another, and I was really bummed out about it, but then it later on, I find out there was this giant issue that would have made me completely I would have lost money on it, and things like that do happen, from time to time, and, I always, like, when something like that happens, I'm always like, "Thank you so much," Like, "You saved me
Yeah.
from being stupid here." That's a lot of what God does for me, it's just kinda idiot proofs. It's doing as long as I pray, it's like, "Look, I know that you're the one that knows what the right thing is here, so just illuminate the path and I'll walk it." So definitely things like projects that I wish I would have been able to get that I turned out was it best that I didn't get it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's honestly it's really hard to even look back on the last 3 years. It's been a whirlwind. There's been so much that's happened
No, that's a
since
great example that you shared, and I mean, I totally identify with that. There's not very many people tell me no, that they don't wanna work with me, and then when they do, I'm like, "Hmm, okay," and then I'll pray about it, and it's for my benefit.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I could totally relate to what you're saying. I was like, "Thank you for that." The nightmare of a client or, whatever, like, that would have probably blew up in my face, so thank you for not letting me step on that grenade.
Especially with what you do. I mean, that's, not getting along with the client with what you do, that would just be an absolute nightmare because it's just an ongoing thing? So it's,
We choose them wisely. And
right.
you know what's cool is, like, we pray for them first, so, like, it is the right people, but then there's also too those instances where there's some sort of, like, test involved. Like, "Are you gonna take the money or are you gonna listen to me?" Like, "Okay," "Yep, I'm gonna listen," because that always works.
And the older I get and the more of those situations I get into like that, like take the money or listen to me, the listen to me gets a lot easier because
Absolutely.
I've done the take the money stuff, like, option a few times, and it never works out.
It
And,
doesn't. No. In fact, there's times where I'll do that, and I'm like, "I gotta give you a refund." Like,
Yeah, what's the return policy on that?
yeah, no, I'm like, "I don't care what I gotta like, here you go. I'm giving you your money back. You're gonna be serviced somewhere else. We're not a great fit, I apologize for wasting your time." You know? And yeah, and it does. Then it works out, and I get some sort of a huge blessing afterwards for doing that, because like, there is grace in the repentance too, So
Definitely.
yeah.
That's part of it, yeah.
It is a part of it. I mean, golly, I was just reading about Abraham and how twice he lied about Sarah being his wife and said she's his sister. And I'm like, he didn't learn the lesson the first time, but like, how can I point the finger? There's probably times where I've needed to learn a lesson 20 times, So like, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I remember the first time reading through that story in particular, which for me wasn't that long ago, a few years. I remember reading a lot of the Bible just going like, a lot of these people are pretty awful a lot of the times.
Right.
The more I read it, it's like, no, these are, I've been awful a lot of the times too. And these are just examples of maybe the extreme versions of some of these things. But we're the Bible's full of normal people that were flawed, and it's part of the lesson. It's like, yeah, well, you're flawed, but you're not earning this. You're not earning heaven. That's
We
given
can't
to
do
you if
it.
you want to take it.
Yeah. We couldn't do it.
Nope.
That's why the unblemished lamb had to come, and
Right.
save us all. Like, there's just no way we could have done it on our own accord, so absolutely, and I think knowing that, there's just so much just profound grace in that.
It gives me peace. I know who I am. It's
Mm.
like okay, like I'm yeah, and that's something that just knowing that because I That's a lot of people that even that say they're Christians don't really like, if you ask somebody point blank, "How do you get to heaven?" I've gotten all kinds of
Oh,
answers,
yeah. Yeah.
and, that's
Exactly.
something I didn't learn until I was almost 30 years old.
Yep.
So I would've told you, be a good person and
Mm,
do your 10% tithes and all this stuff.
mm, mhm.
That's not what it is.
No, mm-mm, nope, nope, there's a lot of people think that they have to work for it, yeah. In that, there comes, like, thinking that because, like, during the point at which Adam sins, he eats the apple, and then the earth becomes cursed, and he becomes cursed to work the land in order to receive his provisions. Like, that the earth I call it the earth curse, like, that is something that most people are still stuck in, and they don't realize, like, "No, I can actually because I am God's child, I can ask for that because of what he did on the cross."
Right.
And so, like, I don't have to live that earth curse out. I can just go straight to Jesus who
Right.
intercedes for me and will ask on my behalf, and so I think as a Christian in the marketplace and as an entrepreneur, like, you've exercised that obviously, like, just going to him first and asking and, praying about each one of your deals, like, "Is this a good deal for me?" If it's your will, let it work out, Like, those are some of the things that you're doing. And where do you see the greatest need for that kind of fellowship and prayer in your
I'm
business?
sorry, where do I see the greatest what?
Need? The greatest
Need.
need for that kind of relationship in your business.
Honestly, probably how I approach each client's problem.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff is I mean, it's somebody's health could be failing, and it's like a hoarder situation, and there's a lot of emotional levels to this,
Yeah.
and a lot of situations, not always, but a lot of times there's some pretty heavy stuff going on. So the thing I probably pray the most about is that I'm doing what's best for the client. There's been appointments that I've gone to where I knew the situation was pretty emotionally heavy, and the whole way there, I'm just like, however I need to be, like, let me be that. You know, whatever they need from me, let me do that for them. Honestly, that's because once we buy the house, it's there you get surprises with stuff, but it's pretty like, we've done that before. We've done these projects. We know what it takes to put flooring down. We know what it takes to do that. But it's really the people's situations that are always unique. And I just want to make sure that I'm doing what's best for the client and that the client knows that their best interests are truly what I want. I just, yeah, I don't want to be in a situation where they think anything other than that because I can honestly say, like, it really is my biggest motivation is to help people that I want people to be in a better position after meeting me than they were before they met.
Is there any challenges that you're currently facing right now as a business owner?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, the answer to that is always yes, but I'm just trying to think of what the yes means right now.
Right? With the changes.
Yeah, it's always a new thing,
Always new.
but so yeah, it's starting to slow down a little bit. We're kind of getting into the cooler months. The markets really do cool down with the weather. So there's that. We just hired our first employee who's doing great. He's awesome. But it's me and two other owners. We're three-part owners of the company. So we've always just worked directly with each other as owners. And I've never led an employee before, and I know the one of my other owners hasn't. So that's been definitely something to we're constantly learning about, how to really lead somebody and pour into them what we know, and uh, yeah, just that's been a new experience, exciting one, but, I've already made mistakes as a employer. It's like, "Oh, maybe I didn't communicate this as well as I should've," or, "Of course he's confused. I didn't communicate this at all," so but his name's John. He's a great guy, and he's just along for the ride. He wants to build this with us, and that's been, the newest challenge, but honestly, one of the most fulfilling things since starting a company is really just I'm at the point where I'm taking what I know and just, eh, showing somebody else what I know and trying to pour into them, and that's been really fulfilling for me.
Yeah. Yeah. The art of leadership, right? Like there's so much growth that you get to receive by lifting up others and teaching
Mhm.
them to do what someone taught you to do, right? It's cool. That's got to be so fun. I love the art of leadership as well. Lifting up others around you, like it's part of teaching a man to fish instead of fishing for the man. Very biblical. What advice would you give to other Christian business owners who maybe feel stuck or discouraged?
Definitely remember that you are a follower of Christ first and foremost. If the business goes away tomorrow, if you still have this, that doesn't matter.
Mm,
But if you hold on to this as tightly as you can, which is your relationship with Christ, regardless of everything else that's swirling around you, it's gonna be a lot less overwhelming. You're gonna know how to navigate it more completely. You're gonna be able to navigate it fat and quicker than if you just were leaving it all up to your own devices. Definitely just put that above everything else, and then a lot of other things below that find their rightful place.
profound. Great, great advice. I absolutely love that.
I read it in a book that I like,
Uh, what book is that? What is that?
the Bible.
The best success book ever written, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just just keep that at the top of your pyramid, and everything else becomes pretty manageable.
Yeah. If you could ask God for one breakthrough in your business right now, what would that be?
That's a good question. I'm gonna give you an answer, and then I'm probably gonna think of a better answer later. But I don't know. So one thing that we've been open to the whole time, but we've never really dipped our toe in is the commercial side of things. We know just enough to be dangerous with commercial, and we've done deals commercial before, but it's something that I would love to, you know, dive more into. So a breakthrough with maybe some connections on that end of things would be great. But that's just off the top of my head. I know there's something better than that, but I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like, is there something that you wish you would have known earlier in your journey that you know now, but, like, you wish you would have known it earlier? I'm sure there's a lot because there's a lot of things, but
Yeah, so
yeah.
I feel like I'm learning a lot of the same things over and over again, but I'm learning them more fully as I had to learn the same lesson 1,000 times. I was the first year in business, I just worried my pants off. Just I'm a warrior. I come from a long line of warriors. I just worried myself sick all the time when a deal would fall through and it was like I really needed the money from that deal. I would just sit there and worry and not pray, but just worry and just literally spinning my wheels in mud. So that's been something that the more I pray, the more I'm reading in God's word, the less I worry. And it's just a natural byproduct of doing that. It's like lay your burdens down, right? Like
Yeah.
it really works when you are disciplined about it and you just realize as soon as stuff starts getting hairy to just go to yeah, go upstairs. Yeah, go to the corporate.
Hand it over.
But I'd say that just to worry less because it doesn't do me any good.
So unproductive, right?
It really is.
That's a great lesson to realize and just be like, "Oh, man, like, if I could just take worry off my plate, what would that do for me?" You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It does a lot for you if you're listening and you haven't done that. It's really hard to solve
Huge.
problems when you're
Hu
just worried about
Yeah.
things that more than likely won't happen, like things that you're just paying worst case scenario, and you're just really worrying yourself sick about something that doesn't even exist.
Right? Very enemy tactic.
Yeah,
So, keeps you very distracted.
it does.
Yeah. You're not doing any kingdom work as you're worried to pieces, you know? Yeah, it's a very, by design, enemy tactic, I'll say.
Right.
Yeah. How can our audience connect with you and learn more about fast track properties?
Yeah, so we have a website if you wanted to just pretty simple to navigate websites, fasttrackprops.com. You can even if you're looking to sell a house, we have a little section in there where you can put your info and then we'll reach out to you if you're not a person that wants to give us a call, you want to just give us some info online, but it also tells you a bit about our company, who we are, what our values are. I'd say that or Facebook. If you're a Facebook person, you can contact us on Facebook. And yeah, I'd say those two.
Oh,
But our numbers online as well. You can find us. Just give us a call, and anything that you need in real estate, we're happy to help.
perfect. Wonderful. Well, Russell, it has been such a pleasure having you as a guest on our podcast today. Listeners, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. We completely depend on you to help grow this channel. Even share this with a friend that is an entrepreneur that you've maybe found some pearls of wisdom here. We so appreciate you. If there's something that you want to hear about or you have suggestions on topics for us, please do share. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.